Hi everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video is square number 4 in our Grantastic crochet along. And what the Grantastic crochet along is each month for the year of 2019 we're doing a new granny square that's 6 inches. We started with just the basic granny square in January, and then we next did a solid granny square, and then the third granny square was the circle in a square. And what we're doing is we're starting with the basics and working up to learn some new and different techniques for making granny squares. And then we're going to combine some of those techniques to make some even more and different granny squares. We're doing one granny square a month, and then each month we're making 4 of that one granny square. So as we're moving along, you'll need 4 of the basic, 4 of the solid, 4 of the circle in a square, 4 of the granny in a corner, and 4 of each square that we do each month. If you would like all the information on exactly what we're doing, there's a link down underneath the video in the notes that has the schedule of when the squares are released, as well as all the patterns written out for you with pictures, and of course those videos. Another place you can look for them is just right here on YouTube. Up in my playlist, just put in Grantastic Crochet Along 2019 and you'll find all those videos. So square number 4 for April is granny in the corner, and we'll begin making a regular granny square, and then we'll switch to doing back and forth in solid rows, and it makes a really pretty granny square. And just to repeat what we're doing as far as yarns and crochet hooks, all of my squares are done in this blue yarn, Red Heart Super Saver. You can use solids, you can use variegateds, ombres, you can even just use up your scraps. I'm just doing all mine in the same color. And what we'll do is once we get all of our squares made, 4 for each month, in January of 2020, I'll show you how to put them all together into a blanket. I'm not putting mine together as I go because I want to mix up all the styles within that blanket. We're stitching with an H hook throughout the entire blanket. My H is a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook, and it's a good idea to stay within the same size crochet hook for the entirety of your project through the year. Now, sometimes when you're crocheting, you may crochet looser than I do, or you might crochet tighter. And we're wanting our squares to be 6 inches. If they're a little bigger or a little smaller, that's okay as long as all of your squares are the same size. And if you're intent on keeping them the same size, you can always go up or down a hook size in order to achieve that 6-inch square. Now, it doesn't matter if they're a little bigger and a little smaller as long as they're all the same size, like I said, because we're going to be putting them all together in a blanket. And you want your squares to all be the same size. And you'll notice I have mine on a blocking board because I do like to block all of my squares. I just pin them on the blocking boards, spritz them with a little bit of water, and I either set them on the back deck if it's warm, or I set them on top of my dryer to dry. All right, so grab you some medium weight number 4 yarn, your H hook, a needle for weaving in your ends, and of course your scissors, and we'll get started on square number 4. We're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle, put the tail of yarn over our hook and pull it through that loop, and then we'll just snug that down and tie that stay knot. That's going to keep our chain 5 circle together. All right, now we're going to put our tail of yarn on this side and our working yarn on this side. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to stitch 2 more double crochets, and chain 2. And now we're going to repeat this 3 more times. 3 double crochets, chain 2. Three double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then we'll join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch. It keeps jumping off my hook. There we go. Oops. So we have 4 sets of 3 double crochet, chain 2, and now we're going to slip stitch to the next chain 2 space. We'll just put a slip stitch in each of those 3 double crochets, then we'll slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 3. All right, now this is how row 1 should look. We're going to turn this over and just gently pull on that yarn, and that will close that hole that's in the middle. And that's row 1. For row 2, this chain 3 that we stitched counts as our first double crochet. Now we're going to stitch 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in this same corner. And chain 2. So there's 1 corner made, and we're going to do the same on these 3 corners. So we'll stitch 3 double crochets, we'll chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And chain 2. Now we made our second corner, and we'll repeat this on these next 2. Three double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and our last corner. Whoops. There we go. Chain 2. We'll again join to the top of our chain 3 and slip stitch over to the chain 2 space in that corner. And chain 3. That's how row 2 should look. All right, let's do row 3. Now row 3 is exactly the same. The only difference is we're going to do the 4 corners, and then we're going to do those 3 double crochet, chain 2 in these side chain 2 spaces. So our chain 3 counts as our first, and we'll stitch 2 more double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. We'll chain 2, and then in this chain 2 space between, we'll stitch 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and this brings us to our corner, and we'll stitch the corner the same, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and then we stitch 3 double crochets in this chain 2 space. And chain 2. And so now for row 3 we have our corners, and then we have a chain 2 with 3 double crochets in that chain 2 space and chain 2. And we'll repeat what we did right here on these next 2 corners and sides. I've repeated those corners and the side. I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 and then slip stitch to the corner and chain 3. So here we have row 3 with our 4 corners and our 4 sides. And now we're ready to start the solid rows that puts our granny in the corner. All right, now the way we're going to work this is we have this chain 3 here that counts as 1 double crochet. We're not going to stitch any more in that chain 2 space. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of these 3 double crochets. Then we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in each of these 3 double crochets. Let me make sure I got 3 in there. 1, 2, 3. This is where you can accidentally add a stitch, so really watch that. Make sure you put 2 in your chain 2 spaces, and you only put 1 in each of the next double crochets. And now we're in that chain 2 space, and we're stitching 2. And then 1 in each of these next 3. If you accidentally add too many in this side, it'll end up kind of ripply and puckery. So you want to make sure that you put 1 in each of the double crochets and 2 in the chain 2 spaces. Alright, so there's the 3 in my double crochets. And now I'm to this corner. So I'm going to place 1 double crochet. I'm going to chain 2 and stitch 1 double crochet in that corner chain 2 space. And now we're just going to repeat, working down this side, what we did here. 1 double crochet in the 3 double crochets. Two double crochets in the chain 2 space. One double crochet in these 3 double crochets. And 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. and then 1 double crochets in these last 2 double crochets. And then we're back to this corner. We'll stitch 1 double crochet, and then we're going to chain 3. All right, now let's take a look at it. Pull my corner out a little bit there. We chained 3, 1 double crochet in those next 3, and 2 in the space, and we do this across. Then in this corner, 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet, and then we repeat over here what we did over here. 1 double crochet in the 3 and 2 in the chain 2 space till we get to this corner, and then we just stitch 1 double crochet, and we're going to chain 2 because we're actually going to turn our work. We've made that chain 3, counts as our first double crochet, so we'll start in the next double crochet, and we'll just stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across till we reach that corner. Alrighty, almost there. There's my last double crochet. Oops. So I stitched 1 double crochet in each double crochet across, and remember our chain 3 here counted as our first one, so we started in the next and stitched across. Now we're at the corner, and again we're just going to place 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet in that corner. And now we're going to work across here, and we're going to repeat what we did over here. 1 double crochet in each double crochet across. I finished double crocheting across to the last stitch. I'm going to chain 3 and turn our work. There we go. And now we're back on the front of our work. Again, the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we're going to double crochet starting in the next stitch and stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across till we reach that corner. I stitched across, I'm to the corner, and again I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet in that corner, and then I'll stitch down this side, stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet across this side. I've completed that side of stitching a double crochet in each double crochet. Alright, now the last thing that we're going to do is instead of chaining 3 here, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work down this side and this side of our square, and we're going to stitch single crochets. Now these first rows here, we're basically just going to put them in the ends of the rows and make sure they're even. I try to put 2 single crochets in the end of each of those 3 double crochet rows because we don't have any stitches to put them in. We want them to look nice and even. All right, now once we get down to this portion, we can put a single crochet in each of those stitches. We can put 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space, and we can put the single crochets in the double crochet stitches. Now I'm to those chain 2. I have 3 more single crochets here, or not single, but I'm placing 3 more single crochets in those 3 double crochets. Alright, so now this brings me to my corner, and in the corner we're going to stitch a single crochet, chain 2, and a single crochet, and that's just going to make the corner look nice and pointed. And then we'll just work right back up this side of our square. We'll place single crochets in the double crochets, 2 singles in the chain 2 space, 1 single in each of the double crochets, and 2 singles in the chain 2 space. Now we're to these last 3. 1, 2, 3, and now we're to the rows where our double crochet is stitched, and so what we're going to do is just evenly stitch up, trying to place 2 single crochets in the end of each of those rows. And you'll notice I'm trying to go in the stitches, not the holes. We want it to look as uniform as possible. There we go. And 1 more. And now I'm done. And if it looks a little wonky, don't panic. You can put this on your blocking board and get your square nice and square. All right, let's go ahead and clip. We'll tie that off. Grab our needle and weave this in. There we go. There we go. That square is all done, and make sure you took a minute and weaved in the center of your circle there from where we started. So here is our granny in the corner. We used our skills of how to make a regular granny square along with how to solid it out, and came up with a really fun technique. Now remember, make 4 of each square for each month. Now next month for May, we're going to be doing this square, which is a granny flower. So be looking for that next month. Again, if you want to see all the videos, you can go to the YouTube playlist, or you can click the link underneath this video